Hello, plant community. Thanks for tuning in this channel. My name is Pam, and today, you guys, we're going to talk about opposites. Now, opposites in regard to watering requirements or the regimen that we may develop with our plants. Now, as a plant collector such as myself, we have certain plants in our collection that we're already known is requiring the soil to be not wet but moist, such as our alocasias, our begonias, and prayer plants, just to name a few. But we also have these other plants on the opposite end of the spectrum that requires the soil to be completely bone dry before we water them. So today I'm going to share with you 5 different varieties that one would consider to be a type of a plant that would require to be completely dried out before watering, but under my care, I find out that that's the complete opposite of what we thought. So I'm super eager to share, so stay tuned. Okay guys, so I'm just going to jump right into it, but before we get into the plants, if you have not subscribed yet, please do so. Hit that button and also hit that notification so that you will be alerted whenever I post a new video. I appreciate your support in advance. Okay, so the first plant I'm going to talk about, you guys, is actually crotons. And y'all probably are sick of me and me talking about these crotons, but I know that crotons is not a household favorite because of perhaps the pest infestations, the difficulty of growing it indoors, the requirement of light, and just the tropical vibe that crotons are known to have. They're typically used as outdoor decoration shrubs, and so one would think under those requirements that these plants prefer to dry out. Well, I gotta say, in my experience with growing them indoors, that is completely the opposite. These plants require a little bit more watering than need be. So this one right here, of course, is my Croton, my Petra Croton that I've had for over 3 years now. And I have been upsized it in this pot, but this is inside of a glazed pot because I need it to hold on to moisture as long as possible so that I won't have to be worrying about how often to water this plant. But I allow the soil on here not to go completely bone dry, because if I do, I notice when I let it go completely dry for some reason with crotons, it opens up the door for them to be a little bit more susceptible to those pests that we're not familiar with. So I make sure that I keep this very well moist, and I water the plant completely when it's like halfway dry, and then I give it a nice drink. And so far that has been keeping the plant happy, so to speak. Also too, if I don't water it on time, outside of the leaves being floppy, it is really quick to crisp. Now another croton that I do have that's a little bit that I'm learning is even a little bit more finickier and a little bit more thirstier than this beautiful Petra. It's actually my newly acquired Petra, and I believe this is the Mame variety. If it's another name and someone knows, please let me know, but I believe it is. If not, it is a croton species that requires more water than my Petra, so much more till I had to put it in the self-watering pot. When I had it and brought it from the store, it was in this nursery pot, and I guess I was not keeping up with the water quick enough. The leaves were starting to get brittle, they was drying off, and I was actually losing a lot of leaves. And so I figured from my experience with Miss Petra over here that, okay, this baby wants water too, but this plant really loves to drink. And ever since I changed the plastic container and put it in the self-watering pot, it's really been a game changer for me. And I don't really have to worry about watering it. And it likes it so much. I know I need to clean it. This thing is disgusting. And I do apologize for that. And maybe I will do that once I get finished with this. But if it was clear enough, you would actually see that the roots are actually coming out through the plastic container. But this plant is happy and is thriving and is working out. But who knew that it needed more water? I would have allowed it to dry out and then it went down unsuccessfully. Plant number 2, my Ficus shivana. This plant is almost the bane of my existence to a certain extent, you guys, honestly. And the reason why is because I have the regular ficus, I have the ruby, I even have the fussy ficus Benjamin. And all 3 requires that I allow that soil to completely dry out. But I'm learning that that is not the case with this one. These leaves folds up very quickly, and I feel like I am watering this plant more than I should, almost to the point where I'm debating on whether or not if I should upsize the pot. Now currently, you guys, it's still in its original nursery pot. I have not changed it out. I did add a little bit more aeration to the soil, but I'm thinking since I did add aeration to the soil, maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe I should have left it in its potting medium, but it was just too wet for me, and I just didn't feel comfortable with that. So anyway, I'm watering this plant at least once a week. If not, like I said, I've lost, as you can see right here, just on the side profile, I had leaves right here, but I lost a lot of leaves fooling around with trying to figure out the proper way to water this baby. And I'm still not on it yet. I'm almost this close to putting this in a self-watering pot. So who would have thought putting a ficus in a self-watering pot? But hey, it happens, and this is one of the babies that I'm debating on whether or not to do it. It's a very beautiful plant, as you can see, and I really would love it to thrive. It's starting to get on my nerves. Like I said, I cannot seem to keep on top of it here. So yeah, I don't know. Y'all let me know. Y'all been having that experience with the shivana? My next plant is actually a Monstera, which oddly enough, I do have a couple of Monsteras in my home, such as the Deliciosa. I have the Subpinata. I also have the Thai Constellation, to name a few. But the plant that I feel that needs more water than the rest of my varieties is my Monstera adansonii. This baby loves to drink. Now, traditionally, when the leaf starts to droop, I know it's time to give it a water, but if you go beyond that, this plant, the leaves will completely turn yellow, it'll crisp up, it'll fall off. So I make sure I have this also in, it's kind of like a semi-glazed pot, terracotta, I don't know, plastic pot. And I water this baby when the soil is half dry. I cannot let this dry out. It is not forgiving. I lose a lot of the lower leaves. And that's what I learned when I initially had this plant almost like 3 feet tall. As I was losing the lower leaves, I was just letting it dry out too much. It wasn't like my other varieties of Monstera that prefer to be dried out. But this baby right here needs to be watered at least once every 7 days. And I don't know if it's because of the climate in here, because it's growing in my sunroom, but it's the complete opposite of what my other Monsteras are requiring, and I just find that quite interesting. But ever since I've starting to get a handle on the watering, it has been rewarding me with a little bit size up of the leaves, and this is a very beautiful plant, and I hope that it will at least get up to here by the end of the growing season, but we'll see, right? Beautiful, right? Okay. Next plant, of course, this plant is a cactus. Now, cacti is definitely known for being very drought tolerant. For crying out loud, the majority of them are grown in the desert where there's void of water, right? So, I thought that maybe this particular cactus would be like the rest and could thrive without water, and I can allow it to dry out for quite a bit, but that is not the case. And that is my mistletoe cactus. This plant is beautiful. I love it, one of my favorite plants, but it is a stickler with water. As you can see, I've lost a lot of leaves up at the top, and I've lost a lot of them because I cannot allow this pot to dry out completely. It is not forgiving when you allow it to dry out or go beyond. What happens is, and I'll show you right now, is you'll have a whole lot of this going on. See that? That is dry and brittle. And the whole stem or stick or mistletoe will actually tip over and fall out. Hence why you see all of that balding on top. But it's still trailing beautifully because I think I'm finally understanding the watering requirement. So again, I water this baby when the top 2 inches of the soil has dried. 2 inches being my finger, the second knuckle is the 2-inch indicator. Stick my finger in there, and if it is dry, I give it a good drink. And I noticed that this particular plant does not like to dry out, actually, because also the planting medium is in like a more of a cocoa core with a little bit of perlite, not a whole lot. But I think this is the mix that this plant prefers in order for it to thrive, at least in my home. And I have this plant hanging not in the sunroom because last summer the sun was just a little bit too intense for it in here. I had to take it out. And so now it's kindly residing in my bedroom. So it's getting medium dappled light. But once again, even though it's not getting as much light as it would in here, this baby right here does not want to dry out. But I love this plant so much, I'm willing to work in its requirements or its schedule to make sure it has what it needs. I don't know, maybe in the growing season as we approach it, we're almost there. I don't know. I could possibly propagate this baby, cut a few stems and put it in here and see what happens just to fill it out. I don't know. I have to think about it. But if I do that, I have to remember, don't let this baby dry out. So my last and final 5th variety of plant is, of course, if y'all know me and what I love to talk about so much outside of the Crotons, would also be a Hoya. Now this particular Hoya, you guys, is a thirsty baby, and I'm about to show you her. And this is my Lucanosa, I believe, Lucanosa snowcat. Baby is so thirsty. I had to put her in a self-watering pot. Who would have thought a Croton, a Hoya in a self-watering pot? Not I, because the majority of my Hoyas are grown in here. I have half in here. Let's say about 50%. 50% of my Hoyas are grown in here, and the 50% is in my dining room, but they're getting Sansi lights up the wazoo, and all of them prefer to dry out. But not this baby, to my surprise. I first brought this plant in a 6-inch planter, and I had it not even hanging, I don't think, in here. I had it hanging inside. And I was doing what I typically do with all my Hoyas. I let it dry out. This baby was not happy. I lost a lot of leaves, you guys, tremendously. I literally lost half of the plant. And I like this plant so much, and I didn't want to lose it because this was the first time I've actually had a chance to find, first of all, a Hoya at a big box store. I believe I came across this by mystery magical moment at Lowe's, and it was the only one, and I just grabbed it. So I didn't want to lose it. And I said, you know what? I'm finding that I have to water her much more often. And I said, you know what, to make sure that I don't go insane with trying to keep up with Miss Prissy watering requirement, I swapped it out. I definitely, like I said, I lost half the plant, so I definitely had to take it out of the 6-inch planter that it was in. I put it in this 4-inch planter in this self-watering pot. I found a sweet spot with it though, because what I had to learn to not, it's not filled right now, because I do allow it to dry out maybe 1 day or 2 before I pour water in here. And when I do pour water in here, because I've learned, because it is a Hoya, it wants to be moist, but it needs a sweet spot between dry and moist with this particular plant that I'm learning. So I don't fill it up to the max level. I fill it up halfway. I feel like, to me, when I do it halfway, I'm still a little bit in control with how much water that this plant will get. I feel like when I put it to the max, this plant reacts like a newborn baby. It doesn't know when to stop drinking, even though it has had enough, if that makes sense. But as crazy as my logic seems, it has worked. So she is a very happy camper, and because of that, you guys, she has bloomed for me a few times, and I'm actually looking because I think, right here, you guys, as you can see, is a peduncle forming right there or something. And there's also another one, ooh, right here. So I'm super excited for it to open up because the smell of the flowers is similar to the Croton, which is a very fragrant smell. And I have it actually sitting over here in this, you see that terracotta planter that's empty? I sit this baby right here so it's getting light 8 feet away from a southeast facing window and some light from this beautiful sand sea, and she seems to be happy and thriving. So yeah, that's pretty much it, you guys. If you have any plants in your collection that's a little bit opposite of the characteristics that it's known to have, please comment below and share. And also, I would like to know from you guys if you have any of these 5 varieties that I made a mention of. Do you too beat your head up against the wall trying to make sure that these plants stay hydrated? I would love to know. So this ends this video, you guys. Keep in mind, if you love foliage as much as I do and you love listening to planty things, subscribe if you haven't. And shame on you if you haven't. Hit that subscribe button, girl and guy or whoever. And I appreciate your support any way you can give it to me. Comment below. I love communicating with you guys. Enjoy your day wherever you are in the world. And until next time, guys, much love. Bye.